When you hear the words phaser and MXR in the same sentence, there's one little orange guitar pedal that you'll more than likely gravitate towards thinking about, and that is the classic MXR Phase 90. But in this video, we're not going to talk about the Phase 90. We're going to talk about a cool new addition to the MXR catalog. This is the MXR Deep Phase. So with this pedal, MXR have taken the classic vintage voiced phaser, added a few cool new tweaks, and rehoused it in this small little box. So this is not a reproduction of a Phase 90. The only connection between this and the Phase 90 is the fact that it's made by MXR and it's an orange phaser pedal. The Deep Phase is actually based on another vintage circuit. There's a lot of debate online about what that vintage circuit is and whether or not this sounds like it, so I'm not going to go too deep into that fact there, but obviously you guys can debate that down below in the comments if you want. But this is basically a vintage style phaser from MXR housed in this really cool little box. So in this video we're going to take a look at what this is, what it does, and what it sounds like. So the Deep Phase, as I mentioned, is the latest in the phaser catalog from MXR. My friends at MXR sent me this pedal to check out for a few days, so I'm not getting paid for this video, but I've got this here on loan for a little while from my friends at MXR. I'm going to check this out and see what it's all about. I've never been a huge phaser fan personally. I do like the Phase 90. It's obviously that classic Van Halen sound. It's not really an effect that's made its way onto my sort of main tonal palette, but perhaps this one will change my mind. MXR are describing this vintage style phaser as having a crystal clear sound with a very pronounced swoosh. So that's the movement of the phasing sound. They say it's got a little bit of a scooped mid-range, but also one common criticism of the classic Phase 90 is that when you engage the pedal, it actually drops the volume slightly. Now with this phaser pedal, they say they've corrected that. So when you actually kick this on, you shouldn't actually notice any fluctuation in volume. The only thing you should notice is obviously there will be a little bit of volume fluctuation with the way the phaser moves, but you shouldn't notice any overall drop in your guitar's volume. The Deep Phase is also very, very dynamic. So whether you're playing clean with some nice sort of shimmering chords and simple melody lines, or whether you're sort of cranking the amp into overdrive and really powering through some heavy chords and solos, this will sort of adapt to your playing style without losing any clarity. It's also pretty good on bass, MXR seem to say. They say that it plays really well with the low frequencies, so if you're a bass player, you could add some phase to your bass rig as well. The layout of this pedal is also incredibly simple. So it's obviously housed in one of these mini MXR cases, and like all MXR effects, it's built like a tank. Just two controls here. We've got speed and feedback down there. The speed control, obviously the lower we set the control, the slower the phasing speed, and the higher we set it, the faster the phasing speed. The feedback control controls the intensity of the effect. So the higher the feedback, the more intense and pronounced the phasing effect is. And up here we've got a mode switch. So when I press this, this LED here engages, and then I'm in mode 2. Mode 2 is an 8-stage phaser. So mode 1, which is the default mode, is a 4-stage phaser. Mode 2 is an 8-stage phaser, which again just adds different textures and different levels of phasing between all the different sounds you're hearing. So it's a bit more of an intense phaser sound. So there's not really a ton of stuff to say about a phaser pedal. So let's just plug this thing in now and hear what it sounds like. So with this being a vintage style phaser, I'm going to keep my rig super simple for this video. I'm using my Jackson Adrian Smith SDX guitar. This is obviously a Super Strat style guitar, plugged into the Cool Amplification 11, which is an early 70s style plexi amp. So this is single channel. I've got the amp cooking pretty loud here today. It's 3/4 of the way up, but I'm actually running the gain on 1 at the moment for a clean sound. And the amp is running through the 2 Notes Captor X using an IR of a Silver Jubilee style cab in a big hall. So you're hearing the space of a hole there in the IR that I'm using. And later on in the video, when I go to the overdrive tones, I'm just going to crank the gain on the amp. So it's all going to be from 1 amp, no other pedals today other than the phaser. So I've got both the knobs on the pedal set to midnight currently and mode 1 engaged. So I'm just going to play a bit on the clean tone of the amp and turn the pedal on, move the controls, and flip between mode 1 and mode 2. So you can hear with the clean tone it goes from some nice sort of shimmery chords right up to some pretty wacky stuff. Some of the mode 2 settings there in the higher registers are pretty much unusable unless you just want to create some cool noises. But in the lower settings there's some really cool stuff. Personally, I prefer the mode 1 tones in there just because they're a little bit subtler and there's kind of a bit more of that Leslie kind of swirl in there, which I really like. Now I'm going to reset the pedal back to midnight and we're going to play with a bit of drive. So I've just cranked the amp now, so same amp, same guitar, same everything. Now the gain on the amp is just set pretty high. So I'm going to play now with an overdriven tone and same thing, I'm going to turn the phaser on and off, move the controls and everything else. So there you go, there are some sounds from the brand new MXR Deep Phase. This is a really cool pedal, and I like that they've gone with the small form for the pedal, because if you're someone who wants a little bit of phaser in your rig, but you don't want to give up too much real estate on the pedal board, you can always find room for a mini pedal. Now obviously MXR have got a big history with the phaser, so if there's any company that's a bit of an authority on that sound right now, it's these guys. So I did say earlier on in the video, the Deep Phase is not a Phase 90. It's not claiming to be a Phase 90, and MXR have even said themselves, it isn't a Phase 90. It's just a phaser. It's based off another classic vintage circuit. But, and this is a big but, you can actually get some Phase 90-ish kind of tones in the lower settings. You can also do a little bit of a Leslie-ish thing too, which I really like. Like I said, for me personally, mode 1 is much more usable than mode 2, but some of the lower speed and feedback settings in mode 2 do sound pretty good with some drive. But again, I would probably use this in mode 1 myself if it was living on my pedal board, just because I personally like the slightly more subtle phaser tones, sort of those early Van Halen phaser tones, or like more of the Leslie-ish kind of stuff. But again, you can get pretty wacky, pretty crazy, especially with that 8-stage phaser. But yeah, if you're someone who likes phasing and you like to tweak a phaser, this is a pretty cool pedal to start with. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comments of the brand new MXR Deep Phase. Love to hear what you guys are thinking. And while you're down there, don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys very soon. Thanks for watching.